on the Blitz. You asked, Cowboys Nation, and Dallas delivered. That infamous franchise tag has officially been applied to Tony Pollard, but what does that mean for Ezekiel Elliott going forward? And have we seen the last of Dalton Schultz in a Cowboys jersey? We check in with Vice President of Player Personnel, Will McClay, and we got Kyle Yeomans talking a little draft updates. All that and more coming your way next on the Blitz.
Out to the right, breaks a tackle. They blitz it. Prescott throws it down the right side for Lamb. Caught it! Wentz gets rid of it over the middle. It's intercepted. Back to throw, rush, sacked by Parsons. Heaves it deep down the left side for Gallup. He's got it. Touchdown!
Welcome into the Blitz, presented by Blockchain. Hailey Sutton alongside Bill Jones. Bill, what a busy time it has been in this off season.
Yes, and not only, of course, as far as the Cowboys are concerned, it's a great time of the year. I've got my bracket right here. We're ready for March Madness as well, but really we're ready for the madness that is this coming week in the National Football League, because it's Happy New Year, 3 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon. That's when the new league year starts.
What off season? Am I right? The Cowboys have already been very busy at work trying to get deals done to prepare for that upcoming roster in 2023. The biggest headline, I think, coming out of last week, they have officially applied that franchise tag to Tony Pollard, locking him in for at least one more season on this team.
Yeah, and it's a little over $10 million that he is guaranteed for this year. Now, they can continue to negotiate a long-term deal if both sides are able to do that, but this is something that was totally expected. And we saw really the value of Tony Pollard not only over the course of the first 4 years in the league, but we really saw it when he went down with the injury in the San Francisco playoff loss, because the Cowboys offense really had one weapon after he went down, and it was C.D. Lamb in the second half of that game. Pollard is very valuable to this team, and that's why they did not hesitate, even coming off an ankle surgery, to apply the franchise tag on him.
Tony Pollard, a career season last season, 1,007 rushing yards, 5.2 yards per carry, most impressive part of that stat line, 9 touchdowns. But even more impressive to me, Bill, was his ability to be a receiving running back as well. I think Jerry Jones spoke to his versatility as a running back, which is why they were so adamant about getting this deal done with him.
Yeah, he is such a weapon, not only in the running game, but also in the receiving game. That's the player that he was when he came out of Memphis, too. I mean, even you go back 4 years ago at the draft, and he was considered more of a wide receiver than a running back. He's really proven himself, though, in his first 4 years in the league, that he can carry the load at running back. He needs some help alongside him, but every team in the league has dual threats at running back. We'll get into that a little bit later when we talk Zeke Elliott. But Pollard is a key guy in this offense. It is obvious, and I would love to see the two sides work out a long-term agreement here over the course of the next few months.
Absolutely. They have until July to figure that out. Otherwise, he will play on that franchise tag. Let's talk about another guy who's working through an injury, hoping to get a contract extension done here, Terence Steele. He tore his ACL back against the Houston Texans last season, but Jerry Jones, Stephen Jones have let us know that he is on a very good track, ahead of schedule rather, in that rehabilitation process. But Bill, from your perspective, the team has put the second-year tender on him. How valuable is he to this offensive line?
I think he is very valuable. In fact, Zach Martin, going back to training camp, was talking about, if you look at the coach's film from the previous year, and the reason they were having success in the run game was what Terence Steele was doing at right tackle. And I think maybe you even look when he was not in there the last 4 games of the year this year, the run game suffered a little bit. So the interesting decision is, and they actually have until Wednesday at 3 o'clock to officially make that decision on the third round or the second round tender on him. They could have put a first round tender on him as well. What this does is a second round tender. We're looking at a $4 million salary, and other teams can obviously offer him a contract leading up to the week of the draft, and the Cowboys would have the opportunity to match. A team that offered him, if he left to another team, they would have to give up a second round draft pick. But he is very valuable to this team. Another guy they need to sign long term.
Absolutely. I always say this is a job that I do not envy with this front office, as they have to work through a lot of this stuff. All right, so Bill teased it a little bit earlier. What are they going to do with Ezekiel Elliott? How does that franchise tag affect that running back room? We're going to talk all things Zeke when we return on the Blitz.
The Dallas Cowboys Blitz, presented by Blockchain.com, is also brought to you by AT&T, official partner of the Dallas Cowboys, and by Blockchain.com. Make your crypto play today. This segment is brought to you by AT&T.
Welcome back to the Blitz. Hailey Sutton, Bill Jones with you here. Bill, we talked about Tony Pollard. He received that franchise tag last week. And that begs the question, what is this organization going to do with Ezekiel Elliott? As we know, he signed that massive contract a few years ago, but now it seems like he's a little too expensive. The Cowboys are paying over $27 million in running back fees right now. What happens with Zeke?
Well, obviously, because of that now over $27 million salary cap hit at the running back position, they've got to do something about Ezekiel Elliott's contract. You hear Jerry Jones talk at the Combine last week, and you can hear in his voice how much he appreciates Zeke Elliott on this team, not only what he does on the field, but also what he does alongside Dak Prescott in that Cowboys locker room. I think Jerry is going to do everything he can to try to secure the services of Zeke Elliott for at least one more year here, but they've got to get that cap number down. If they did make him a June 1st cut, he would still count $6 million against the cap. So I think it even behooves the team to get something done, because otherwise he's counting $6 million for a player that's not even on the roster. And I think Zeke understands where he is in his career and where he fits into this team. And I think what Zeke has to think about is, do I want to finish my career as a Cowboy? And then what will it take? And he also his agent has to assess the market out there too. What is the market for a player going into his 8th year as a running back with the wear and tear that he's had in his career?
I love that you brought up Jerry Jones and his empathy almost towards making this tough decision. He even talked about at the Combine how difficult it is to weigh the player versus the person. And so it's difficult to try and decide what you want to do with your veteran running back. You don't want to do something that's too disrespectful, but definitely keeping in mind, what he's done for this franchise and what potentially he could do in the future.
Well, and you need 2 running backs. You look at Tony Pollard, and you don't want to happen to Tony Pollard what happened to Christian McCaffrey with Carolina.
Sure.
They're very similar type backs, and Christian McCaffrey basically missed an entire season due to injuries, and now here's Pollard coming off an injury. Zeke is valuable to this team, but they got to get it at the right price.
Absolutely. Another guy who's been valuable to Dak Prescott at the very least, Dalton Schultz. He played on that franchise tag last season, and since they've now given that tag to Tony, it kind of feels like this is the breakup between Dalton and the Cowboys.
It definitely does. I saw on one of the beautiful video boards out here a highlight of the tight end celebrating a touchdown last year when they jumped into the red kettle and they played whack-a-mole. Well, this is almost like a game of whack-a-mole with these tight ends.
Yeah.
And, Dalton he popped up on Thanksgiving Day when he got whacked. Well, he's not going to pop up now because he's going to pop up in free agency. It's going to be great for him because he's going to get a nice contract with another team, but it's just the way of the world in the NFL. They drafted one tight end in Jake Ferguson. They signed another one in Peyton Hendershot, who did a remarkable job their rookie year, and I think that they move on from Dalton now.
I agree, and then you also have Sean McEwen, who works in there as well. So a difficult position for sure. And this last one to me is really difficult to talk about because, when you look at having a contract year and doing everything the right way, no one did that better than Donovan Wilson did this season. He put it all on the line. Another guy who had another career season for him. He plays like a linebacker in that secondary, but you talk about a guy making an impact. This is someone who I'd like to see them figure out a deal with.
Well, you'd love to see it. The problem here is that he plays a position that is becoming more and more valuable in the National Football League. Dan Quinn talks about how valuable Donovan Wilson is to this defense, doing the things what you're talking about, being able to come up and play the run and also defend the pass. There are other teams that look at him the same way, and so I think on the market, Donovan Wilson might be a guy who can make some money out there.
Donovan Wilson, 101 tackles, 7 tackles for loss, and 5 sacks as a safety. This is a guy, Bill, who lived in the box, got in the face of quarterbacks, and was just a disruptor. And then when you partner him with the other guys in that secondary, just a remarkable guy, really.
I mean, they have 3 starting safeties on this team. It's J-Ron Curse and Malik Hooker as well. They want to keep Donovan Wilson. It's going to be very interesting to see if they can.
Again, a lot of decisions I am so glad that we don't have to make. But one of the guys making a lot of those decisions is none other than Vice President of Player Personnel, Will McClay. I had the opportunity to catch up with him at the Combine. You'll hear from him when we come back.
This segment was brought to you by AT&T. This segment is brought to you by Reliant, the official energy provider of the Dallas Cowboys.
Welcome back to the Blitz. Well, this is such a busy time for the Cowboys front office as they continue to build the 2023 roster for the Dallas Cowboys. And no one is more busy than Vice President of Player Personnel, Will McClay. I had the opportunity to catch up with him at the Combine to talk about what this offseason looks like for him and how he's going to help the Cowboys in the future. Hailey Sutton, joined by Vice President of Player Personnel, Will McClay. Will, I imagine this is a place that you spend a lot of time in. What does this week look like for you?
It's it starts on Sunday. We come in and start having some league meetings, and then it's meeting with agents and going through the process about free agency, and now having a question and answer with the players and understanding who they are and finding things out about them.
How does this week, I guess, rank in importance as far as what you guys are trying to accomplish with the offseason and building that team for 2023?
It's the next stage of it. The college scouts have gone out and they've done all the work, gathered all the information. Now it's our opportunity to get in front of these guys, look at them, get some pertinent information. So it's another step, and we'll continue it after the Combine. We'll start hitting pro days and do all those things.
Whenever you're looking at some of these guys to join the Dallas Cowboys franchise, there's obviously certain physical attributes, game attributes that you look for, but what do you look for them as people joining the Dallas Cowboys organization?
The first thing we want to find out is their love of the game. People can tell you about it, but now we get an opportunity to judge that ourselves. How much do they love the game? It's from the questions we ask them and some of the stuff that we gain, and then them going through this whole process. And then, we want to find out just the depth of the person. And so we're looking for guys that love the game, that will do anything, to get to that next level. And we want to figure out, from this process if they'll do that.
Speaking of the process, how has this changed just over maybe the last 5 years in how you're scouting, how you're contacting these guys? How is the Combine and the offseason process evolved, I guess?
It's starting with COVID. We found different ways to do things, and the Combine was part of it. So there's a different player structure. It gives the players more freedom, more opportunity to relax and be their best selves when it comes time for testing. So that makes our schedules a little bit longer and a little bit harder. But it's all a part of the process. But getting to spend that time with the players in the environment where they're more relaxed, I think it's a better environment for us to be able to gather more information and interact with them.
It's always good to have them be good people as well as good football players. Will McClay with the Dallas Cowboys. Will, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Always a good opportunity to catch up with Will McClay. I know he is very busy during this time of year, as like I said before, he continues to work to build that new roster. And speaking of the upcoming roster, we got to take our next break. But when we come back, we're breaking down some of the best defensive backs in this year's draft class. Kyle Yeomans will join us to talk about it.
This segment was brought to you by Reliant, the official energy provider of the Dallas Cowboys.
Just play with that chip on your shoulder. Don't matter how highly recruited you are. It doesn't matter. If you're a dog on the football field, they'll come find you. So,
you're the best cornerback in the draft?
Yeah, I'm the best cornerback in the draft.
Talk about an underdog story, a little confidence there. Welcome back to the Blitz. Hailey Sutton, happy to be joined alongside with Kyle Yeomans. Kyle, you were at the Combine last week. I was there with you. One of the team's needs this year going into the draft is that secondary, specifically in that cornerback position. We talked to a lot of guys. We watched a lot of guys work out. But who is someone or somebodies that Cowboys Nation should key on?
Yeah, that was really a reoccurring theme from the conversations with those around the Cowboys as they have honed in on cornerback. And it's not necessarily just day one, but it could be picking at the 26th overall pick. So I have one guy for you on day one. It's Devin Witherspoon. He was the defensive back of the year in the Big Ten Conference. He's at the bottom of the screen here going up against Virginia. There's not a whole lot to illustrate here except for his vertical ability, his smooth hips, and his ability to find the football as well. So as we snap the ball here, you see the receiver makes a nice move at the line of scrimmage, but Witherspoon stays with him. And if we pause it, go back a little bit to where they're looking at the football. Look at the way he turns around, finds the football immediately. Didn't take any time to actually hone in on where that was. Almost had an interception in the end zone, but either way, he's able to get up and make a good catch. We'll go ahead and play through this all the way here, but overall, Witherspoon, 5'11", 185. He had 17 pass breakups in his final season with the Fighting Illini. That is something to keep an eye on because he has a nose to the football. It's one of those scouting terms. Nose to the football. He certainly has that, and he's somebody the Cowboys could see still available at pick number 26.
All right, I'm going to play devil's advocate here, right? Let's say he's not available on day 26. Still a lot of capable guys that can come in here and make a difference. Some other names that we should be paying attention to that you think would be a good fit for this Cowboys secondary.
I've got 3 names for you, and we'll go to the SEC to start things off. This was originally thought to be a first-round name. Kelee Ringo, down at the bottom of your screen here. He's going up against Cedric Tillman, who's probably a second- or third-round pick in his own right, against the Tennessee Vols' Hendon Hooker at quarterback. So you see here, no window whatsoever. Now, Hooker still throws the football, but it's a bad decision because there's Kelee Ringo tracking it all the way in. He stays step for step in the NFL Combine. 4.36 40 speed. He had a 35-inch vertical, had 2 interceptions this year. The production wasn't necessarily there, but you also got to think about some of the competition that Ringo went up against. He went up against the best players in the SEC. Cedric Tillman, good example of that. He won this battle here. Second one, also in the SEC, a little more linked to this game. It's Emmanuel Forbes out of Mississippi State. He's going to be right down here at the bottom of your screen, and he's going to show off some speed as well. 4.55 in the 40-yard dash. Look at the reading ability. No hesitation. Cuts the football off, and he's off to the races. There's no way you're going to catch a Mississippi State corner in Emmanuel Forbes like that. I really like his vertical ability. I like his size as well. 6'1". He's a little thin at 166. That's what he weighed in at the Combine. If he can maybe beef up a little bit, he fits that long, rangy corner sort of feel that Dan Quinn has certainly been accustomed to putting on this Cowboys roster last couple years. And now I've got a wild card for you.
Okay.
LSU safety. I said safety for a reason. He has a little position flex. He can play corner. He played in the nickel, played outside a lot at LSU. Here he is in the nickel, but he does play up. He's got that Donovan Wilson sort of build to him, and he plays downhill. Look at this play against Mississippi State. They try and go in the flat here to this running back out of motion. He goes around. If we can back it up, I want to see the way he gets around this tight end. So he's in the slot here. He takes one step in and boom, he realizes where the football is going. He reads it quickly. He shakes off a tackle or a block for that matter to make the tackle, and then he's there to stack up Mississippi State for the most part. So I like his ability to play downhill. This isn't the only play he does that. It's the only one we have time for, unfortunately, but he can play in coverage, he can play in the slot, and he can play safety. We've seen position flex be a valued thing for this Cowboys organization, especially a defensive back. That's something I think you got to keep your eye on. He's probably a day 3 guy, which I think would fit the mold for where he is as a prospect.
Did someone say Israel Mukuamu position flex?
There you go.
Kyle, great insight. Thank you so much for that. A lot for us to pay attention to. We're going to go ahead and take our final break here on the Blitz. But when we return, how your kid can get ready for the 2033 NFL Draft.
The Dallas Cowboys Blitz, presented by Blockchain.com, was also brought to you by AT&T, official partner of the Dallas Cowboys, and by Blockchain.com. Make your crypto play today.
Registration is now open for 2023 Dallas Cowboys youth football and cheer camps presented by Invisalign. Use promo code SPRINGBREAK23 for $25 off camps on March 14th or 15th. And take advantage of early bird pricing when you sign up for a summer camp by May 12th. Visit DallasCowboys.com/camps. Final segment here of the Blitz. Hailey Sutton and Bill Jones with you. Bill, we would be remiss to say if this wasn't going to be a busy couple of days upcoming for the NFL.
It starts at 11 a.m. Monday morning, and that's when the negotiating period starts between the agents and the teams on all these free agent players. Now, the official start time that they can sign on the dotted line, the free agents, is 3 o'clock Dallas time on Wednesday afternoon. That's when the new league year starts, and so it is going to be, you got to be checking DallasCowboys.com the next few days.
He said it, DallasCowboys.com. Stay up to date with us. Before we let you go, Bill, March Madness is officially underway. Who you got?
I'm going, a Texas team is making it to the Final Four in Houston. Okay. I'll go with the Houston Cougars, the #1 ranked team in the country, playing at home in the Final Four.
All right, I'm going to take Alabama. I think they've had a great year, so we will see how that shakes out, and we'll keep up with all things Dallas Cowboys. We'll see you next week on The Blitz.